Welcome, everyone. Let's jump straight into today's explainer. We're unpacking a really fascinating presentation today, all about mental health and well-being. And right out of the gate, the source establishes a core, non-negotiable truth. Mental health requires daily attention and care, exactly like our physical health. It's really not something we can just put on autopilot. We have to actively maintain it. The source material actually anchors its entire philosophy on this piece of ancient wisdom from 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. What's so captivating here is how the author uses this to show that ancient texts have long recognized the absolute necessity of a disciplined mind. The core argument: we aren't meant to live in a constant state of overwhelm. We are literally wired for resilience. To actually achieve that sound mind, the author provides a super clear roadmap built on 3 foundational pillars: personal physical care, psychological strength, and social connection. Let's get right into it. Kicking things off with Pillar 1, personal physical care. This is our absolute baseline self-care foundation. Okay, so what's incredibly interesting right away is the science of sleep. The source highlights that getting your solid 7 to 8 hours triggers something called glymphatic clearance. Basically, while you're sleeping, your brain is literally washing away toxic byproducts that build up during the day. It's like a deep clean for your mind. This physical restoration is paired in the presentation with Psalm 4:8, which talks about lying down and sleeping in peace. The author makes a really compelling case that restorative sleep is just non-negotiable for emotional regulation. Next up, we have physical exercise. Now, we've all heard about endorphins, right? Those are your body's natural happiness chemicals that actively reduce stress and depression. But the source points out that it goes way deeper than just a temporary high. Aerobic exercise actually, physically, increases the size of your hippocampus, which boosts your memory and your emotional resilience. The source brilliantly ties this biological fact to 1 Timothy 4:8, noting that bodily training is of genuine value. You are literally building a stronger brain when you move your body. All right, I want you to consider this massive number for a second: 95%. Take a guess at what foundational part of your mental health this represents. And keep in mind, we are still exploring physical care in the human body here. Here is the incredible answer. 95% of your serotonin, that's the primary happiness hormone responsible for stabilizing your mood, is actually produced by the bacteria in your stomach, not your brain. I mean, wow! This is exactly why the source heavily emphasizes a balanced diet rich in vegetables, fruits, and omega-3s. What you put into your stomach directly dictates the chemical happiness of your mind. It's a total game changer. And because that chemical balance is so incredibly delicate, the presentation drops a pretty stark warning against addictions to alcohol, cigarettes, or other stimulants. Look, while they might offer a temporary illusion of relief, in the long run, they severely disrupt the brain's chemical equilibrium. The author beautifully frames this with the principle from 1 Corinthians 6:19, treating your body as a temple. Protecting that temple means protecting the very chemistry that allows you to experience joy and peace in the first place. That brings us perfectly to Pillar 2, developing psychological strength. This is where we focus on building up that internal resilience. Check out this fascinating concept from the source called affect labeling. Modern science actually shows that simply putting your feelings into words, literally just naming your emotions, measurably reduces activity in the amygdala, which is the brain's fear center. By speaking it, you disarm it. The explainer pairs this psychological technique with Psalm 32:3-5, which highlights the profound relief that comes from confessing our burdens rather than keeping them bottled up. Acknowledging the pain is presented as the very first biological step to healing it. Another powerful tool highlighted here is mindfulness and meditation. Focusing on the present moment and taking deep, intentional breaths scientifically lowers your levels of cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. When cortisol drops, your mind essentially stops panicking. This mirrors the timeless advice found in Philippians 4:8, which instructs us to deliberately focus our minds on whatever is true, noble, and praiseworthy. Where you direct your attention physically alters your stress levels. But hey, psychological strength isn't just about breathing exercises, right? It's about boundaries. The source outlines these critical steps for time management: prioritizing tasks, learning to say no to things beyond your capacity, and actively preventing burnout. Saying no protects your peace. And this lines so perfectly with Ecclesiastes 3:1, which wisely reminds us that there is a specific time and season for everything. You really don't have to do it all right now. This source makes it abundantly clear. These aren't just trendy productivity hacks. They are mental health survival skills. If you don't work in order and you don't know how to decline requests, your mind is going to become overwhelmed. period. Guarding your schedule is, quite literally, guarding your sanity. All right, let's pivot to our third and final pillar, social connection and community support. The presentation leans on Hebrews 10:24 and 25 to hit home a major theme here. Isolation is a profound danger to our mental health. The author argues that we simply aren't designed to carry the weight of life all by ourselves. Connecting with family and friends, laughing, and just playing together provides immense, immeasurable comfort and emotional healing. We need each other. And look, sometimes the support we need goes beyond a chat with our friend group. The author warmly and clearly reassures the audience that seeking help from a professional, like a psychologist or psychiatrist, is a profound sign of strength. It is absolutely not a weakness. When the burden gets too heavy, reaching out is the smartest thing you can do. This is backed up beautifully by Proverbs 11:14, which reminds us that there is safety in having many counselors. Now, this next concept, it's arguably the single most important takeaway from the entire presentation. It takes a hammer right to a really damaging stigma. The myth is that mental illness is a spiritual weakness or some form of divine punishment. But the reality, as the source unequivocally states, is that mental health struggles are exactly like any physical ailment. They are treatable illnesses. They require compassion, counseling, and medical care, not judgment. So as we pull these three pillars together, a really clear, holistic picture emerges. The science and the spiritual wisdom from the source both point to the exact same truth. Your mind requires intentional, daily, multifaceted care. Whether you are guarding your sleep, your diet, your boundaries, or your relationships, maintaining mental health is an active, ongoing process. Well, if this explainer sparked some thoughts, or you want to dive deeper into these holistic practices, the author of the original presentation, David Esta, welcomes your questions through the contact information provided. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to think about today. Are you treating your mental health with the exact same urgency and respect as your physical health? Thanks so much for joining me, and keep learning.